Welcome to Paradelphia Radio. This is Rick Pruitt once again here in the Toxic Studios. And tonight we actually have our long-lost co-host is back on the interwebs with us.
And it's horrible because every time I come back, I say I'm back for good, but then all of a sudden a couple weeks go by, and then this time I have an excuse. I moved. And anyone out there knows moving sucks.
That voice you hear is Doug Hogate.
Oh, yeah, hi.
In case anyone forgot.
Yes, yeah, like move, anybody will tell you. It's like, if I have to move again, I'm keeping all my stuff there, and I'm going to live in my truck.
Just never move. Just, you know what you got to do? You got to buy one of those Winnebagos.
Yeah, that's true.
That way you can move and not actually move.
But see, then you got to, well, no, because I was going to say, then you got to worry about gas, but just don't move.
Just don't move.
Yeah,
unless you have to. And if you have to move, then you got all your shit already packed in the car.
I was just say, I used to feel sorry for like people you see living on the side of the street in tents. I envy them. So, But anyway, yes.
38 seconds in, we're already not politically correct.
But yeah, no. It like I said, I came here in this freaking incredible studio once a few weeks ago, and couldn't wait to get back here again. So
we are back.
Mike hasn't gotten evicted yet, so he's doing something good.
back in action. All right, so tonight we're going to do one of those old-fashioned shows where we don't have an agenda per se. We don't have a guest on, but we do have a lot of para news to talk about.
Oh, this is one of our classic regulars, man.
Yeah, well, we do this from time to time because when we have guests on with the hour format, it's tough to fit in any kind of segments or news or anything like that. And I try and post what I can on social media, but sometimes I don't get everything up, or sometimes I just skip a few days, and everything, stuff happens every day.
Sometimes when you can't get everything up, just go to sleep, take a nap, try again. What's so funny?
So
I'm trying to help you out here, man.
Anyway, you are feisty tonight.
I'm telling you.
So
I have like 3 weeks to make up for here in an hour's time.
So we have some news tonight, and then we'll kind of just BS around. We got Toxic Mike in there in the control center, and I'm sure he'll throw his 2 cents in. Look at him all dressed up in his work shirt.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Let's not bring that up.
As much as this studio grows, I don't think he even has 2 cents to afford it anymore. You know what I mean?
I really don't. Don't even think for a second that I have a penny to my name after investing, because just like you were just saying with moving, and not to derail,
right?
But moving into a new establishment like this, there are certain costs that come along that you didn't really factor in.
You get excited because you're like, man, this is great until you start the process.
Right.
And you're like, what the fuck was wrong with me that day?
And you misjudge the size of the truck you need, and all of a sudden it's a bigger truck, and the gas. And
that's always the case. Like, I love this new beautiful thing. Oh, your insurance is this much, and this is the gas. Yeah.
U-Haul said $20. All of a sudden it's $130. Yeah.
We didn't tell you about the upcharge.
Yeah, whatever alien out there is playing me as the avatar, they're sucking right now. Yeah. So let's get it together.
If they're sucking, then all right.
So Mike, before you leave, I want to ask you about something.
Yes, go ahead.
Toxic went down to Atlantic City last weekend.
Yes, we did. We went down.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a great relationship with Damon Feldman. He is the CEO and owner of Celebrity Boxing. And if you haven't heard, you haven't been on TMZ or anywhere with like any kind of pop culture kind of news, but Aaron Carter has agreed to fight Lamar Odom, and
when is that? Not to cut you off,
that is June 12th.
Okay,
and, as of right now, fingers crossed. As of right now, Toxic Radio will be there in the house for the event, and so Damon was so gracious to say, "Hey guys, we're doing this press conference. Come down, get some footage, get some some pictures, some video, and meet everybody." And we got to get station IDs from ECW original superstar Sandman.
Nice.
We got to meet Wide Neck, if anybody knows the memes of Wide Neck. We also got to actually I didn't get to talk personally, but very close to Aaron Carter and Lamar Odom, and it was very, very well done. One of the best celebrity boxing press conferences I've ever been to. They had drones filming the whole thing. They had Rolls Royces.
Everything's drone filming now.
Oh yeah, there was multiple drones.
Like,
there were 2 guys controlling the drones. They kept on looking at each other to make sure the other one didn't fly into the other one's drone.
That'd be embarrassing.
It was really, really well done.
Right.
Outside of the press conference after it was over, because there was free alcohol in there.
Nice.
I watched as a woman fell to her knees because she was in super high high heels and then had to be helped to a Philadelphia a bus stop bench.
See, I thought that story was going to end differently.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
But no, it's very good.
But,
and huge thanks to Damien Feldman, Celebrity Boxing, for allowing Toxic Radio and Toxic Entertainment, because on their giant banner on the red carpet had two Toxic Entertainment logos. And if you don't know what Toxic Entertainment is, that is the parent company, Toxic Entertainment LLC, which is the parent company to Toxic Radio. So it was very cool that they did that for us.
Very, very
a lot of fun.
And real quick, and just to add one more thing about the drone filming, when I was doing Ghost Nation, when I appeared with Jason Halls and Steve Gonzalez, I remember when we were filming a part where we were all walking up to Mario and his wife's door, right. And we had to do that take driving into the driveway, getting out, like, I swear, like 50 times. And like 25 of them were them flying the drones over. You know, and it's just like, and it can be distracting, but you can't look at it, you know. Again, it's like just crazy because it's like a whole new thing, but you know.
So I showed my wife, I showed Taryn I told her about the celebrity boxing thing, and I showed her pictures of both guys, and she has no idea how in the world Aaron Carter is going to survive like 30 seconds.
Aaron Carter's online like every day, 20 times a day anyway, like
he has no, like, Lamar Odom has the reach. He's got the better build. He looks like he would kick the shit out of him.
Oh, absolutely.
In like 20 seconds.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. And the only thing that Aaron Carter has possibly is like the crazy factor. You know what I mean?
Sorry,
like he'll bite your ankle. You know what I mean? Like he's like a little chihuahua. He might go ape shit.
Break the rules, like no boxing.
Like,
he's just going.
It's a street fight, and like David in the first class, he might start just trying to take out his kneecap and stuff like that.
Right.
It'd be interesting.
And then actually, I got a little bit of footage right here, just for the people that are watching at home.
Nice.
Let's see. Oh, that's not going to work. It's not nice when it won't work.
That was one of your private collections you're about to play on there, right? Oh, here we go.
So that is actually for people that are actually get to view this during the live stream on Facebook.
He's got someone on the side of his
That is Aaron
face.
Carter on the microphone at the press conference.
He's got Karen hair.
Actually, I was thinking, Doug, you do like tattoos. I think that is your next tattoo right there.
Listen. If
Aaron Carter special.
I would get that tattoo, the Aaron Carter, for $100,000. I'll do it, but that's it. You know, I'll go as low as $100,000 to do something like that.
Wow.
That's it. That's your price.
I mean, hey, whatever. It's $100,000. I'll be happy with $10. Not to do that, but you know.
Yeah, but it was.
But yeah, that's awesome.
It was all glitz and glamour. The celebs were there. It was a lot of fun.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So
next, it'll be Aaron Carter and Toxic Mike in the ring.
Now that would be funny.
I would have challenged Mike just to do. I don't know shit about wrestling. He's a ex-wrestler. I wouldn't know shit.
During the last episode, Taking It Deep with D. Godfrey, that comes on before you guys.
Right.
We were already discussing the Crave Case challenge, which, if you don't know what a Crave Case is, it's a case from White Castle which has 30 of their burgers in it. It comes in a little suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna be doing the Crave Case challenge. So if you want to throw any other challenges up there that we could do,
I can't even do that.
I say we go to town. We start trading that Toxic Radio wrestling belt around the shows.
But my problem
30 burgers we have to eat.
30 burgers.
I had my stomach surgically removed so I would lose weight, so I can't even win in an eating contest. So like I've lost that already. Like, yeah,
Doug's done.
We'll thumb wrestle. How's that sound?
The thumb wrestling competition.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be the.
You know what? I would hope that like we have a huge entrance for you with like fireworks and lasers and music, and then you come out with your thumb dressed as Ric Flair with the robe and everything. Yeah, and your thumb.
Yeah.
If we do that, we will do we will do the Paradelphia thumb wrestling.
I'm going to start like this whole online thing, Adventures of My Thumbs, because that's about all I have. You know what I mean?
Celebrity thumb wrestling.
Yeah, right. I even thumb wrestle myself or something like once tag team champions now face each other. Left versus right of Doug's arms. Yeah.
Doug's thumb becomes famous, but then it hits like it's rock bottom. Doug's thumb becomes an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
Doug's thumb is in the ditches outside.
One of them.
The nail falls off.
Yeah, the nail falls off. Right. Well, yeah, there's going to be like this huge documentary, Dark Side of the something, or it's Whew, man.
I like where this is going. We can really stretch this out a bit.
I can't believe this is the longest conversation I've ever had about my thumbs, I must say.
Well, next thing you know, your thumb has an OnlyFans. But we don't know what happens.
Listen, I will say, some people find this weird, and if people watching, like, I can bend my thumb back like this. I don't know. I always thought that was normal until,
that is
like,
not, no.
fourth grade. People said, that's
so what he's
sick, you know?
So he's putting
like,
his thumb up in the air, and the top half of his thumb is actually bending like an L.
And I can do it both.
That is not normal.
So anybody that's a little, I don't know. I found out that was weird when I was younger, like in school. I always thought it was a normal thing.
That's the alien DNA.
Again, no, it's the person, that alien playing me on their avatar.
The alien DNA, in effect.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
He paid 99 cents for that special thumb edition or whatever. Yeah.
Rick, this is what happens when you let the patients run the insane asylum. You know that, right?
Told you.
So speaking of alien DNA.
Yeah, you and Jenna have it, but good.
Yeah. So the alien question has been a big thing in the last, I don't know, 3 years or so.
It's blown up. It's almost like a normal thing now, yeah.
So we had, a couple years back, we had the New York Times come out with that article about the Tic Tac UFO and all that stuff, that the gimbal UFO off the East Coast and the Tic Tac UFO off the West Coast that was spotted by the Navy airplanes, pilots. So now what we have coming out about a week ago, I believe it was, is the Pentagon once again. Pentagon can't shut up about this stuff now. All of a sudden, they 70 years they didn't say shit about UFOs.
Oh yeah, it was hush. No, that didn't.
Now you can't shut them up.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So now the Pentagon comes out and confirms yet another sighting, a very strange sighting, as authentic. So what this is an article, again, came out about a week ago, and it says, now the Pentagon has come forward to confirm that the UAPs, which I can't stand that term.
That's
unidentified aerial phenomena.
That's
is what
just
they want to call it now.
That's just trying to, like, put a whole government side of things. Like, I got it.
The UAPs and images and video footage of pyramid-shaped objects flying through the sky are in fact authentic, and they were captured by the U.S. Navy. Says, I can confirm that, this is the quote from the Pentagon, I can confirm that the referenced photos and video were taken by Navy personnel, said Pentagon spokesperson Susan Go Gal. In a statement that has since been widely distributed in the media. The UAPTF, which is the UAP Task Force,
geez, they're just adding letters now,
has included these incidents in their ongoing examinations. As we have said before, to maintain operation security and to avoid disclosing information that may be useful to potential adversaries, the DoD does not discuss publicly the details of either the observations or the examinations of reported incursions into our training ranges or designated airspace, including those incursions initially designated as UAP. According to Corbell and Knapp, and these two are Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, who were the two reporters that broke the story, these images were presented during a series of classified intelligence briefings back in May of 2020. It's also believed that they were captured from the USS Russell off the coast of San Diego in 2019. Now, the interesting thing is with this statement, other than the fact that it was made to begin with.
Right. Yeah, they'll make these statements, but then say that's as far as we can go with
it.
You know?
Yeah, but here's what's interesting to me about this. The way she words this, she says publicly, we won't discuss publicly the details of either the observations or examinations of reported incursions into our training range or designated airspace. So what she's basically saying is admitting that these items, these objects, that they don't have any idea what they are going into our airspace and into our training ranges.
Right.
Now, that's a huge admission. More so...
Especially for them to say, because it just makes them kind of look like...
Well, right.
I don't know. It's like they're putting it out there as if like they don't have some sort of control in a sense.
Yeah,
you know?
now Mike is playing, for the people watching at home, Mike is playing the video and showing the pictures of these objects that they're talking about here, these objects that are pyramid-shaped. So, aside from the fact of the, the weirdness factor of everything to begin with, the fact that the Pentagon is willing to come out and make a statement on this, and in that statement admit that these things are making incursions over our restricted airspace.
Right. Like heavy restricted air. Like, yeah, like...
it's interesting to me that it's happening at all, because the question then becomes why.
Right.
Why now? Why all of a sudden are they talking about this and admitting this when these? I mean, this has been going on for decades. We've had cases.
Right.
You could pull up cases going back to the 40s where this has happened.
Well, those images like Mike just had up of those like those jets, like the view they have of it. I mean, there are billions of videos online where these Air Force guys are like, "Whoo, that thing's booking it" or whatever, you know.
And it's one of those things where people have written entire books on the subject of these UFOs appearing over nuclear installations,
right,
and either shutting down or starting up,
right,
nuclear installations without seemingly taking over control of a nuclear installation, which is
impossible.
terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, there was like I seen a documentary, that might have been the same thing you seen, where there's so many theories about that, but it's impossible to be able to shut them down simultaneously, and they are doing that, or mysteriously it's doing that, So
it's one of those things where my question now. Like, it was never really, in my mind at least, it was never really a question of whether these things were happening or they were real.
Right.
But my question now, the more important question to me is, why all of a sudden are they coming out with this?
Mm-hmm.
Is something on the horizon that's pushing the agenda forward? Do they have to come out and admit this now because XYZ is happening a year from now or 2 years or whatever,
right? Like foreshadowing some kind of
because it's just weird,
right?
Like all of a sudden.
And you're right, because like you said, you have these situations where, again, especially before Project Blue Book came out, before that was declassified. Again, they had they had. And it's evident, government agencies of these people that went out, whether they paid money or threatened lives, or even in some cases they say, kidnap, whatever the case is.
Right.
Swearing on everything. No, we don't know anything about UFO, blah, 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 to where all of a sudden this gets declassified. And, and it's funny, if you look back when that did happen and it came out, it was much like you had said before, where one day it's just going to come out and say, oh, yeah, we've been in contact, and everybody's going to kind of be like, where they slowly, prepared them, oh, well, yeah, we kind of figured. And it's almost like, in my opinion, I feel like maybe the government, they get more of a hand on these situations, so it's kind of like before anybody else can, to come up with a billion theories, even though they're going to already. But instead of just ignoring it and denying it, okay, well, let's see if maybe we can just go with it, put it out there,
right?
And it'll maybe calm the storm a little bit, better than what it's going to be,
right? And it could have been kind of like you're alluding to. It could have been a case where another country was going to come out with all this evidence and admit it and make us kind of look like we had pie on our face because some of that evidence might have been related to incidents over the U.S. soil or having to do with U.S. military or whatever.
Right.
And if the evidence was strong enough that it was irrefutable evidence, then that's going to make the U.S. look really bad.
Right.
And so maybe they had to come out first and go, okay, here, this is really going on.
Right. Because, and again, I mean, that... this story here is literally just a crumb of a lot of things. I mean, you go back to as far as Eisenhower and the whole treaty they say that he met with, I think it was the Greys and
met with aliens.
Yeah, and they talk about I think it's Utah where they talk about having these underground things where they actually work and do humanoid things, aliens with humans, and it's just it's like these little breadcrumb. Again, like we said before, little breadcrumb evidence for one day for this big picture to hopefully will be soften the blow,
Well, it's interesting when you start tying all these threads together because I was listening to not an article, a show on Coast to Coast last night. There was a gentleman on, I actually forget his name right now, but he was talking about ancient artifacts and ancient stone structures down in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what he was saying was these stone structures could be 250,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of ties in with these stories about how we had alien intervention back in those times that long ago, where they spliced DNA and essentially did DNA hybridization to create human beings out of whatever was happening on the earth at that point.
Right, whether it was
monkey
to
men
save
or whatever.
our race or whether it was to save their race or whatever the case may be. Yeah, like, I mean, you have hieroglyphics of spacemen, so to speak, and you have these translations where they talk about these men from the sky and everything. Like, again, it's just, I mean, they try to play the stupid thing and make everybody else sound stupid when it's like, yeah, I know there's stupid people out there, but come on,
it all ties together eventually.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, again, like you're right though. I'll tell you, I don't even want to say the last 10 years. You're right. Let's put it this way: from the time you started this show to now, it has gotten bigger, because I can remember us having discussions in the past about, like, one day the government's really going to talk about, and now look where we are, where they are coming out. It is part of news regularly. So crazy situations, man.
All right, so moving on to the next topic here. Egypt's lost golden city unearthed at Luxor.
I would have loved to have been that man.
Tourism and antiquities archaeologists have announced the discovery of a 3,000-year-old city situated beneath the ancient capital. Hailed by some as the second most important discovery in Egypt since the tomb of Tutankhamun, the city, which is also known as the Rise of Aten, was founded by King Tut's grandfather Amenhotep III. It was a place well documented in ancient Egyptian texts, and would have been a sight to behold with its 3 royal palaces and bustling streets. Despite this, however, its location had remained stubbornly elusive. At least that is until it was unearthed during an excavation that started last year. The team had hoped to find King Tut's mortuary temple. However, they were surprised to find mud bricks everywhere they dug. It soon became apparent that what they had found was an entire city. Many foreign missions searched for this city and never found it, said former Antiquities Minister Zahi Hawass, who described finding streets flanked by houses, some up to 10 feet high. Inside the ruined buildings, archaeologists found a wealth of tools and knickknacks. The discovery of the lost city not only will give us a rare glimpse into the life of an ancient Egyptian city at the time where the empire was at its wealthiest, but will also help us shed light on one of history's greatest mysteries. Why did Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti decide to move to Amarna, yeah. And,
Nirvana?
Not Nirvana. I just say it 3 times because it looked weird. Said Professor Betsy Bryan of Johns Hopkins University. Suffice to say, there will be a great deal to find at this site in the coming months. So you see a picture of it there on the screen. Doesn't look like much now, but again, it's been 3,000 years. So, what are you going to have left? But yeah, these cities that were supposedly rumors and what. See, this is why, again, going back to well, you can pick any topic, aliens or ancient artifacts or, vampires or life after death or any of the things we talk about. This city is one example of a story that was out there. Nobody believed it was real. Everybody thought it was just a fairy tale made up. And here they come to find the city. Another example of this is the city of Troy. That was found over in what am I missing here? Greece, over in Greece, back about 100 years ago. That was supposed to be a fabled city that was just made up and not real, but it was all allegory and blah blah blah. Come to find out, it was a real place.
That's why I think with examples like that, the city of Atlantis, that's one of the most famous. Yeah. I mean, I feel like yes. I mean, of course. Who knows? No one really knows, but who's to say that wasn't, like, at one point underwater, but with underwater earthquakes, just whether it crumbled or is buried under a bunch of seabed or whatever, but still, like, you're right. It's situations like that, they just, out of nowhere, get uncovered, and, that was true.
I think that the most, interesting, fascinating, frustrating, pick your adjective, part of what mainstream science does in cases like this is they seem to come across like they have the answer and they know.
Right.
And because what they know right now is what they know, they just stop looking.
Science is all about guessing. It's constant guessing until you find another answer and then you guess off of that.
And I would hate to think that, like, if you applied that same mindset to, let's say, polio, You know, people were dying left and right of polio 80 or 90 years ago.
Right.
And eventually they, through trial and error and through scientific study, they came up with an answer, and they have a polio vaccine. You could apply it to COVID even.
Yeah.
So if that same mindset was applied to those situations, you'd have people still dying left and right of COVID and of polio.
Right.
Because but you talk about something like a lost city or something like a UFO or some kind of an abduction case or something like that, and you don't want to hear it.
Right.
Because it doesn't fit into their mindset. It doesn't, you can sell a scientist on, okay, let's find a cure for this disease.
Right, yeah.
But you can't sell them on, hey, this thing happened. And I don't know why.
Yeah, you're right. Because, of course, when you talk to science, all they were like, oh, well, I need to see physical evidence. Well, when you, I'm sorry, but when you have a large group of people talking about the same kind of situation, I mean, to me, if you have that many encounters of whatever situation it is, that's a form of physical evidence, but they don't want to hear that. It's like they need to touch it, see it.
But nobody had physical evidence of the polio disease until they did.
Right, exactly. But that's the thing. Like, anytime you look at anything in science, you could have in history millions of people say this took place, or this happened, or this is going on. Oh, well, I don't know. There's nothing written down about it, so I don't believe you. There's no physical evidence. But after a while, and after you have so many people, to me, that's enough to be physical evidence. One or two people, no. And they get,
well, and you can apply that to
anything,
to a court case.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You have a murder trial going on, and you have all these people, hundreds of people, come up and say this guy did it.
Right.
Eventually, at some point, it becomes an overload. Like, the judge is going to say, well, or the jury is going to say, well, okay, Jesus Christ, we have
a whole bunch of people
saying this happened. I'm going to have to side with these people because it's just overwhelming.
Right.
You're not going to say, well, I don't believe he did it, therefore I'm disavowing the 300 people that just came forward and said he did it.
Think of the situation like one of the biggest tragedies ever, like the sinking of the Titanic. There's no photos, videos, or anything of, obviously, Titanic sank. But, the only knowledge we have of it, that it hit an iceberg, it sunk, it broke into two. Yeah, okay, we found it underwater and everything. But before that, even anything, it's all based off of the accounts of the survivors.
Right.
Other than that, they could have all got in one boat and said, I know this happened, but let's say this happened. And so. Yeah. But again, but if you had somebody say, well, we don't believe all y'all, we're going to make up this because we didn't see it hit the iceberg.
It's fake news.
So it's.
If you don't see it yourself, it's fake news.
I mean, I don't know. You're right. It does get frustrating because, and then we've talked about it going into the paranormal of people who have these stories of alien abductions, and they're just too similar. Maybe different circumstances, but the idea of it's too similar for it to just be discredited, So.
Yeah. All right, well, here's a story that I put in here specifically because I'm going to get my wife to listen to this, and it's going to freak her out.
By the way, happy late anniversary to you guys.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Snake emerges from toilet and bites man on the behind.
I'd burn the house down, and I would never ever.
You don't like snakes either.
I would leave. I'd leave the town, and
that's even better.
Screw that.
An unfortunate man in Malaysia got a rather rude awakening when he got up to use the bathroom recently. The unfortunate incident, which happened at a house in the outskirts of Iskandar Puteri, saw a snake measuring a whopping 10 feet in length emerge from the U-bend of a regular household toilet. After discovering that it had set up home in the toilet, the house's occupants called up the fire brigade, who arrived with special equipment.
They called the fire department about a snake in the toilet.
To remove the intruder. The python was successfully caught using a snake pole and has since been released from the housing area. Snakes usually come out during this hot season to spot for cool and wet spots. If you do happen to live in Malaysia, check the toilet before sitting down would be advised.
Screw
there
that.
There he is, Doug.
Because I'll pay you to get that shit off of the friggin' TV right there. Because again, you go to the bathroom, you go to sit down, you don't think to look. I mean, unless you want to make sure someone flies, but you don't pay attention to if there's a damn snake in there or anything.
But where was he the whole time before that? That's a big ass snake.
I mean, yeah, you are right. Unless the dude was having a real emergency, it was like, boom, and that,
The snake's like, yo.
I honestly,
yo, dude.
I do not know. I don't even know how to answer like what I would do in a situation like that. Again, I'd burn the house down, leave town, you never see me again.
Oh, yeah. There he is, coming out of the toilet.
If I have a bad dream, I'm not calling you. I'm coming to your house, and you're gonna cuddle with me the rest of the night. Michael,
you're talking to Mike, right?
yeah.
All right, good. Thank God. Thank God.
And if he's not home, Rick,
I totally thought he was talking to you. I was like, all right. I mean, you want me to leave the studio? I'll get out of here right now.
Yeah.
We're not having that kind of show. Ever. All right. So, next story here. Here's something for TV fans, and I know you're going to be a fan of this. The next American Horror Story has narrowed down their 2 themes to one of 2.
Oh, man. Okay.
All right. So, apparently there was a poll that was put up. There were 5, I think.
Okay.
There might have been 10 to start with, then they whittled it down to 5. And now there are 2. Ryan Murphy continues asking fans to vote for the next American Horror Story theme, and it's now down to 2. Either Bloody Mary.
Hey now, all right.
Or Sirens. But which one would work best? Back in 2011, Ryan Murphy shared with the world an anthology TV series called American Horror Story. Each season covers different theme within the horror genre, and while they are standalone stories, some characters have appeared in other seasons, forming a unified American Horror Story universe. So it goes on to talk about all the different incarnations of American Horror Story. We're not going to go through all that.
You talk about a cool, like, because did you ever like, I remember you said a while back, you watched them all. You watched them all.
We watched them all.
Because I think, it was like a couple seasons ago, they actually like formed them all, like they took all the previous seasons and combined them.
Right.
I mean, the dude's a genius. Them shows are pretty
they're
pretty intense, yeah.
So apparently, the first incarnation of this poll had Bloody Mary versus the Plague, of all things.
That would actually be pretty interesting.
But there were a lot of people that were on the Team Siren, I guess.
Okay.
Mike shows here, I guess they have hashtags for this. AHS Bloody Mary versus AHS Sirens.
Everything's a hashtag. Remember when that was the sign for numbers?
Yeah, the number sign.
Like,
number
here's
sign.
My number. Instead of you give you that, it's like, what are you hashtagging?
Or the pound.
The pound sign.
Yeah, the pound sign. That's it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Pound Bloody Mary.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that just popped in my head.
He got so excited. He's like, pound, pound.
Pound.
So
hashtag pound.
So Mike is showing on screen here the promo, I guess, for this upcoming recount. So basically, what happened was they took the Plague out and they put Sirens in because there was such a grassroots movement for this topic. Sirens, if you don't know the term, Sirens is basically mermaids and the like that kind of call people into their death out into the sea and so forth.
Oh yeah, like because when people think of mermaids, you in a sense first thing you think Little Mermaid, sweet and innocent, but like if you go back and you like read some of
we had Varla Ventura on.
That's right, yeah, like mermaids are some nasty chicks. Don't be they might look hot. Don't be pulling them up on your boat. You'd be sorry.
We had Varla Ventura on. Oh God, when was that? A couple years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. That's right.
And she talked all about her mermaid book, and it was intense.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Those weren't cute mermaids.
In fact, they portrayed it in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Like they draw them in with song, and then they'll eat your toes.
In fact, I saw her Facebook a Facebook post from her tonight. I was actually just thinking about reaching out to her about coming on the show again.
Yeah,
funny I thought about her.
That was an interesting. Yeah, like she was great. Like that was definitely an interesting conversation.
She definitely gets into all that paranormal and cryptozoological stuff. Real good. And she does a lot of good research.
It's like mixing it up in a way you don't expect. You know.
Yeah. So I'll reach out to her and we'll get her back on the show.
Puts a whole new thought on, like I said, Little Mermaid.
Yeah. Little nothing.
Little Mermaid returns. Revenge. Yeah.
Revenge of Little Mermaid.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and here's another topic that I'm looking into now. I just ordered a book called Unseen Voices.
Okay.
I think it's called Unseen Voices. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And what this is a book that goes into stories about a phenomenon that really I don't think we've ever talked about this on the show. It's one of those things where you kind of talk about it in conjunction with other topics, but it's actually so very prevalent, and it's a standalone topic. And what this is people that hear voices that compel them to do something or come into a dangerous area for the purpose of basically harming them. Like the guy that wrote this.
So the voice is like drawing a person to get into a situation where they're going to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, what I want to do is look up this. Let me see here, because I want to get the name of this book right, because it's actually really good. It's called Disembodied Voices. I'm sorry.
Okay. Gotcha.
Disembodied Voices by Tim Marcinko. And basically what this is a book, and I've only gotten a little ways into it, so I don't know a whole lot about it yet, but I do want to read the book, and I want to reach out to Tim and try and get him on the show, because this is really an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Where basically these voices just come out of nowhere, out of the wood, he talks a lot about the wooded area. He tells a story at the beginning of this book about it when he was about 10 or 12 years old. He was playing basketball on his driveway, and he heard a voice coming out of the woods that called to him.
Okay.
And the voice sounded like his father, and it said that he lost something or something, and he thought, like, he knew his dad was in work,
right?
But in his mind, like, he thought, well, maybe my dad got home early, maybe he dropped his keys out in the woods or something. So he kind of started talking and having a conversation with this thing, and it just kept repeating the same 3 or 4 phrases over and over again to try and lure him into the woods, and he was at 12 years old smart enough to kind of think it through and go, probably not a good idea.
Second guessing it, because again, when you look at it on like let's say the ghost side of it, I mean, there's a lot of cases in that sense where demonic entities will do that. They'll portray someone like to confuse them that they may trust to draw them in. Yeah. But this just sounds like, I mean, but you never know. But like it's definitely something that's been in.
It's an interesting phenomenon, and it kind of it goes into it digs into fairy lore. Because
really?
a lot of stories about fairies involve them calling to people or trying to lure them into the woods to go into fairy circles and then take them through a portal to wherever they come from, another dimension, fairyland, if you want to use that term.
Well, what would be interesting is to hear Gene's take on that, because if you're like, how Gene describes that when she gets into like her zone and does reading, she describes it as like voices coming in, and she's even like said to us before that it's just like when you hear just a voice come out of nowhere, that's how of course with her experience she can distinguish it. So it's kind of like, if let's say you're somebody that may have that gift, but then you have this, like, how can you be able to tell? Is it the same thing? Or it is. Yeah, there's so many questions that come up when I think about this.
And then you have cases like the Son of Sam killer, where he heard this voice that was supposedly coming from his neighbor's dog. Telling him to kill people.
Right.
So obviously it wasn't the neighbor's dog talking to him, but was it in his mind, or was it something literally impelling him
to do it? Right.
To do it, and using the dog as some kind of a common, well-known to him.
Right.
I don't want to say person,
again,
but
it's like a comfort. It's like
a comfort.
Exactly. Something that wouldn't, like, in a sense, scare him. I mean, because I see it all the time. Is not all, but in some cases with serial killers, where, like, for example, the one serial killer, who was the guy that represented himself, escaped twice, and he was like the one who played. I'm having such a blank right now.
I have no idea.
Ted Bundy. Like, Ted Bundy swore his innocence to the day he died.
Right.
And, one of the things I've always thought is, well, he's saying he's in it. How do we know that, like, he didn't, like, some schizophrenia or something just didn't, like, take his mind over? To him, he's like, I didn't do it. But like, even though he obviously did do it, but I've always said that in circumstances with that, because you don't know what's going on in someone's brain.
You can go a lot of directions with this, because you can go the schizophrenic route and have it just be a disease that infects your brain.
It's endless. Like
there's something out there that's been talked about called an egregore.
Yeah.
Which basically is an entity. It's almost like your I don't know how to describe this. Your other self.
Right. It's like your angel devil type.
It's sort of like
personality
the angel,
type thing.
that cliche where they have the angel and devil on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't come from nowhere. That started out as basically an egregore,
right,
which are these entities that are kind of there but not seen, that can attach to you. The jinn, the jinn from the Middle East, those are supposedly spirits. Well, if you talk to someone who knows a lot about it, the jinn are basically like you and I, but they're in a different dimension.
Right.
But they can infiltrate.
They can jump in between
our dimension.
And
and influence us to do things. Like you were saying, Gene talks all the time about how our loved ones will kind of give us a mental push or put an idea in our head.
Right.
So if that can happen, could it not also happen that someone with less good intentions could do the same thing?
Right. Again, I mean, your basic steps of what is said that like causes demonic possession is they will fool you to make themselves appear to maybe like a child spirit or a loved one. So you just kind of like, okay, it's all right.
Yeah.
Then slowly start to do things like in Poltergeist that like slowly drive you insane to where you're literally breaking down for them to be able to infest and then possess, and so again, it's you have that basic, in a sense, criteria. They say what a demon would do,
right?
But who's to say that's just not a criteria that what a quote unquote demon would do? Like, is it all just one group in a sense that can do it, or is it just again? You're right. It rises so many scenarios, situations,
right?
And we're never going to know until the time comes that we're on the other side. But it's fun to think about,
and it could be a combination of those things,
right? Yeah,
it doesn't have to be just one answer. It could be 4 or 5 of those answers could be correct. We could be subject to being influenced by various things, and don't even realize it.
I mean, that look like. Some people, like with doppelgangers, they fear that if you see your doppelganger, like that means you're like some people. There's beliefs that if you come across your doppelganger, I think it's like bad or misfortune is coming to you or something like that. I think that's one of the.
And for anybody listening, the doppelganger is when you see yourself, basically a carbon copy of yourself.
I forgot.
I've been told that my doppelganger was Joey Fatone.
Nah.
Joey Fat One.
Joey Fatone.
So then you have a big... Because I heard Backstreet... Oh, wait, that was NSYNC. Never mind. Forget my comment. I was going to say, I forgot everyone listening can't hear my thoughts, too. So I apologize if I say things and you don't know what I'm talking about.
What the... What just happened there?
You will need to do...
7.
You will need to do an NSYNC song at some point.
I was trying.
Bye. No, wait, that's Backstreet Boys.
What I was trying to get, you said Joey Fatone. I know that's NSYNC. Aaron Carter, we were talking about, the brother of Nick Carter, who is in Backstreet Boys. I said they were going to perform at the box.
Boy band fan.
No, hold on. Melly said the same thing. I said no. I hated boy bands, but I went to high school from the year 2000 to 2004. Everything, like you didn't have to like it to know it. Trust me.
You know how
Rick's like, yeah, sure.
Yes, I know songs to like. I know the words to those songs, but it's because that's all that played during those 4 years.
Most dudes in high school hide Playboys under their bed. Doug hid Tiger Beat.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Front row, Britney. Anyway.
So
damn boy band crazy.
So that's going to be a topic I want to dig into because it's something we've never really talked about as a standalone topic.
It could go so many ways.
It's really unbelievably interesting.
Right.
All right, so let's finish up with a good old fashioned werewolf story.
I'm surprised. Of course, it became no Japanese or Chinese in the news tonight.
no, nothing Japanese. Let's see. Cemetery at the center of werewolf sighting claims.
All right.
The so-called werewolf of Camberwell has been sighted several times over the years, according to reports. Situated in South London and dating back 170 years, the aptly named Camberwell Old Cemetery is reportedly home to a familiar supernatural creature that is said to skulk among the gravestones. Tales of this alleged werewolf recently caught the attention of local researcher Andy McGrath, who discovered 2 intriguing encounters that took place at the cemetery 8 years apart. In the first instance, which took place on October 9th, 1996, a man had been taking a shortcut through the cemetery when something grabbed him by the arm and smashed him to the ground. He saw a large creature with dark fur and a head like a German shepherd looking down at him intently, slobbering and growling and sniffing his body up and down just as a dog would, said McGrath. Just as quickly as the attack started, it was over, and the beast sprinted off on its hind legs. The second encounter, which occurred in 2004, involved 2 witnesses. We heard a low growl, one of them said. Then a large tree in the corner of the cemetery was shaking incredibly hard as if something really powerful was shaking it with all its might. It was definitely not made by a person or an animal. The tree looked as if the roots were ready to be ripped out. My friend and I took to our heels and ran as fast as we could in different directions. We could not rationalize the sheer terror we both felt. We knew we had to get as far away from the cemetery as we possibly could. There was something very sinister there. So, could there really be a werewolf stalking this 170-year-old cemetery? If a creature is described as being animal-like, then it probably is an animal, and not uncommonly a known animal, even if the qualities it portrays seem superficially supernatural at the time, said McGrath. So he kind of puts the poo-poo on it at the end there.
Yeah.
But again, I read these stories, and I always wonder why they do that. Because they go all in on this,
right.
And at the very end, they're like, yeah, but probably not.
Yeah, it's like you get your attention. You're like, man, that's it. And then they just was like, yeah, forget I wrote this.
Yeah, it fascinates me. People just can't. I mean, not that I necessarily am all in on werewolves,
right?
But I don't know they don't exist.
I mean, I feel like werewolves.
Who am I to say?
Because you got to think werewolves go back as far as what, like 2000 BC, if not before that. I mean,
we did that whole show last year,
right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right.
Ron Murphy.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like, yeah, like werewolves. They're in a lot of text there. I feel like maybe they existed at one point, obviously, or
right.
maybe not so much the werewolf, but like they just kind of embellished another beast that could be extinct. I mean, again, another situation. There could have been so many different ways, or so many different routes it could have taken or have been.
Well, yeah, Ron Murphy's book was interesting because he put logic to it. He put common sense and logic to it, and basically his ideas were that basically you had these I mean, I'm going to really cut this down and edit the whole thing. We talked about it for an hour, but you had these tribes that were living around the last ice age. Excuse me, that were living outside in the cold, and they were scavenging for everything they had, and eventually they formed into little city groups, but you still had some of them that were living out in the cold that would then come into the city areas to try and scavenge food.
Right.
And those people were probably dressed in furs because it was freezing cold. So that may have been the original werewolf.
And that's, where you go into the whole, like, the man transforming into werewolf thing. No, they were just dressing up to scare you.
And then through the generations and through the the years, you had different cultures that would adopt a form of werewolfism or lycanthropy into their culture and into their rituals,
right?
To the point where it became ingrained in society so much that now you flash forward a couple thousand years, and what you have is this idea that these things could actually be out there, whether they're men that transform into wolves, or much like the Bigfoot creatures, they're just they're dog men,
right?
They call them now dog men,
right? Or much like one of the theories with Bigfoot is they're interdimensional beings. Like, could be a case much like it? They're just another interdimensional being. Because werewolves is another one. It's like Bigfoot, like you said. They've been spotted everywhere. Yeah. It's like New Jersey. There's even been sightings, they say, in New Jersey. I've read a couple times. Everywhere.
I'm actually reading a book now. I'm reading 5 different books at the same time now. Taryn can't stand it.
I was just saying, I don't know how you keep track of it.
She can't stand it. I do this all the time because I don't have time in my life for just one book at a time.
Right.
So I like to switch it up.
But then again, to you, it'd be no different than watching different shit. To you, your brain, it's like your brain is
like a different channel.
It's like this own personal television.
It's like a TV channel, yeah.
It's like, can I borrow it?
So there's a book called Where the Footprints End, and it's a book all about werewolves. I'm sorry, not werewolves, Bigfoot. But it's not just about Bigfoot. It's basically about the weirder aspects of the Bigfoot meme, not meme. I'm not using that word right. The Bigfoot story.
Right.
Because people, when they talk about it, they tend to couch their arguments in the idea that it's a flesh and blood creature. It's just something we haven't recognized or caught yet.
Right. No one's ever went up and hugged the damn thing, or
Right. And there's all these really, really, really weird aspects where it ties into fairy lore, it ties into interdimensional lore, it ties into UFOs, it ties into the voices, the disembodied voices.
Exactly. Yeah.
It ties into all these different really strange things. And nobody really wants to talk about that because the most believable, if you're going to believe in Bigfoot and you're someone who's somewhat of a skeptic, the most believable thing is that, well, it's just an animal we haven't caught yet.
Nowadays, it's difficult, though, to say that. I mean, not really if you go into these really remote areas. Like, I would believe that there would be a Bigfoot in, like, when you get up to, like the northern, like, Canada or in Alaska where there's actual territories that have not been touched by man. But when you sit there and you tell me, like, oh, Bigfoot was spotted in Mullica Hill, I think somebody would have seen that dude here by now, where that's just a hairy homeless man, But
and again, you're right.
But then if you get into theory, interdimensional, like, popping in, popping out, like who?
If it was an animal that was, like a raccoon,
right? Yeah.
An 8-foot tall raccoon, then I guess it would have been seen.
Yeah.
But what if it wasn't just an animal? Right. What if it was something else?
Exactly. Yeah.
Something that came and went. Something that could have cloaked itself.
Right.
Because that's been talked about too. Some kind of cloaking.
Right.
Where it's there, but you can't see it.
Or I've even, and again, this is just me really getting into thought. Sometimes I think too when I sit there and think about especially when it comes to creatures and thinking interdimensional, like, do they even realize that if that's the case and they're blipping in and out, do they even realize it? Or are they just wandering around minding their own business like, shit, where am I? And then boom, they're back in it. Like there's just some kind of issue in the space-time continuum, hashtag Doc Brown, that like these things are blipping in and out and they're just poor animals. Like, save Bigfoot, don't try to catch him. Like, anyway. But no, again, though, like, anything paranormal, like, whether it's ghost or cryptozoology, like, it all ties together in a way, but it doesn't. But it's like Melly says all the time, like, it's enough to make her go crazy, because when you start to think one way, it's like, well, wait a minute. It could be this way.
Well, the tagline for the show is, what if it's all true?
What if it's all true? Not yet. Exactly.
The reason I say that is because you don't know.
Right.
Even if you think you know, you don't.
Right.
Not really. You know what you know right now.
Exactly.
You have the information that you have right now, but to say that's the be all and end all, I see you, Mike.
Yeah.
Skeptic Mike, give me the skeptic face.
Like, one day they thought the world was flat. You know
that
what I
is
mean?
true.
One day.
That is a great argument. One day we all thought this.
Yeah.
What are they going to know 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years from now?
And
I agree.
And I always say, too, now, when the day comes, and I die and I realize that I wasted all these years looking for ghosts, hey, I had fun doing it, so screw it. You know what I mean? So... I'm just saying. You get what I mean?
You look at what people believed only like as little as 200 years ago, 300 years ago.
Oh no! Well, even
what people 100 years ago, what people believed to be reality, and now we know.
Right.
So our ignorance now, and what we're gonna know 100 years from today is going to be mind blowing.
Well, people think that we've reached the peak of intelligence, like, for what, like, closed-minded people think that we've reached the top. There's nothing else higher. We haven't made it.
I heard something. I heard something not that long ago that blew my mind. It was only about the middle of the 1800s when people actually, truly understood where babies came from.
Really? What do they think? It just like spontaneously?
No. They.
I mean, there's sex
before
involved.
That, they didn't understand the concept of a sperm and an egg joining.
Oh, okay.
So they knew that the sexual act produced a baby,
but they didn't know
they had no idea how.
Yeah, they didn't. They knew that act would result in that,
but not the specifics with it.
And some of the crazy. I had to do a show on this. Well, I may do a show on this. Some of the crazy ass reasons why they thought babies were made will blow your mind. And this wasn't like thousands of years ago. This was like less than 200 years ago.
You just don't it just came into my head like, well, wait a minute, who was the guy that or girl that one day sat there and be like, we need to figure out what's happening, and like just decided like, maybe this is what goes on. Like, again, that's anything though. I want to know a lot of the times what were people thinking when they thought things up.
Those monkeys look like they're having an awful good time. Want to try that?
But even when you
That's
go,
what I thought when I was a kid.
Well, but even thousands of years ago, like people used to think, tribes where, Neanderthal, that don't go past that mountain. It's the end of the world. You'll fall over. So. Yeah. Again, it still blows my mind that, and some people think that this is it. We have reached the top of the intelligent pool. We can't know anything else.
We're not even in the pool yet.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I say
we're like a puddle outside the pool.
Like they sit there and talk about, we got to protect ourselves. If aliens wanted to destroy us, we would have been gone a long freaking time ago. And we wouldn't even know.
They're just messing with me and my dreams.
Yeah.
Hey,
you still having them, huh?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
When was the last one? How recent?
I would literally, if I had to be honest, about a month and a half ago.
Here, I have now. Listen, I honestly, I know we got to get ready to wrap up, but I do. This is a serious question, and it's because Ben Hansen, he's been on the show before, Fact or Fake. He's on the Travel Channel. He did a season before COVID. He was investigating UFO files, and that's, I think, the name of the show. But he did one episode. He was interviewing women who believe they said they were taken on board, they were impregnated, they took the egg, humanoid, everything like that. In all seriousness, have you ever had intense things like that? I'm not happening, or was it just talking, or what?
No, I've had intense things where I felt like I was being pulled up to the actual ship.
Right, but I mean, and again, I ask because I just think about that. If this is something that is going on, because they say they're creating humanoids off of us, in all seriousness, could there be, children of Mike somewhere in the universe?
You know what?
But that's a scary thought.
That is
I'm telling you.
Children of Mike here on Earth is scary thought.
Hybrid Mikes.
Children of Mike off of Earth is even scarier.
Little gray mics with beards.
You better bite your tongue. They're going to come down for child support.
But it's just, and again, I mean, I know it sounds funny and crazy, but you're the one person I know that literally has these reoccurring dreams that have to mean something, and I just wonder how physical. And I know you've explained briefly before, but
yeah, I mean, so my dreams for the most part, and this goes for almost any of my dreams,
right,
are very lucid, very real, I can feel it, I can see it. It's as if I'm there.
Right.
I can, as soon as I wake up, and this is, I've said before, I need to start writing it down. Most of the time when I wake up, I can remember exactly what happened.
You need a recorder.
It fades
you need a
day.
camera.
I'm gonna just get you a voice recorder to keep next to your bed instead of writing it. Wake up and just say what happened and just put it the hell down. You know what I mean?
Laura will love that.
There's apps. Listen, there's apps on the phone. You can actually record sound as you sleep.
There you go. Yeah.
So just download one of those apps, turn it on every night.
They have an app for everything.
I'm telling you.
And see if you hear anything strange.
Yeah.
Like I said, hey, everybody listening, if you ever see Mike in public, just thank him, because you never know. He could have saved humanity a million times, and we just don't know it.
I'm Will Smith, motherfucker.
I'm going to get a shirt that says Mike saved me or something. Or,
the DNA
toxic
that saved
Mike.
humanity.
Yeah. Oh, no, he had to plead. Please don't blow Earth up. They're okay.
I'll
create a radio network so these idiots can talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anyway. Buy us another 100 years. Thank you, Mike.
All right, so
anyway.
We are about the end of the show here. So it was an interesting show. I told you, we get into these kind of just riff shows, and we just go and go.
The news show, I'm telling you,
all right.
Paranormal news is, well, I don't know. Regular news is crazier than paranormal news, if you ask me.
I'd much rather hear
that's a whole nother story.
Much rather hear paranormal news. All right, so it's been a fun night.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll be back next week. So for Mr.
And I
Dougie
will
Doug,
be here next week.
Mr. Dougie Doug, Toxic Mike, I am Rick. We are Paradelphia, and we are out of here.
Good night.